Antarctica has always been the frozen frontier locked away at the bottom of our planet, never having had a native population unless your requirements for a native upright walking organism are wide enough, and in winter having fewer residents than have subscribed to this channel. So how much of a story does this continent have to tell? The idea of a southern continent on the very southern side of the planet had been theorized for centuries before people ever explored the area. However, the only source to back this up was the assumption that there probably should be a southern continent. After all, there are plenty of northern continents. During the Age of Discovery, Europeans set out to discover the rest of the world, although they didn't truly discover all that much. But they did discover many different islands around the southernmost parts of the world, like King George Island, the South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands, French Southern and Antarctic lands, Heard and McDonald Islands, and islands like this island where no one lives and no one really deserves to live. European ships first passed through the Antarctic Circle in 1773, but it took them until 1820 for Admiral Fabian Gottlieb von Bellighausen to actually lay eyes on the continent itself, and until the year after to actually land on the thing. Of course, in the grand scheme of being a European in a year beginning with an 18, the natural next step was to claim the land for their respective empire. Of course, Britain, France, and Norway immediately did that, and established their borders to be just the coastal areas they'd explored all the way to the South Pole. How modest of Britain, not claiming the whole thing for themselves. These claims, however, though they still exist today, aren't completely valid, since Antarctica is virtually uncolonizable still to this day, and no one who lives there is planning to die there. Of course, one next step was the race to the South Pole, with multiple parties trying to get there first. Robert Falcon Scott, Ernest Shackleton, and Edward Wilson, as part of the 1901 to 1904 Discovery Expedition, tried to make it from the coast to the South Pole, and on another trip 5 years later, Scott reached as far south as 88 degrees 23 minutes south, just 180 kilometers from the South Pole, before turning back. This, of course, didn't end very well for them, especially when in December 1911, Roald Amundsen of Norway and his party became the first people to reach the South Pole. France also claimed some territories, and Norway, in their everlasting goal to claim every single uninhabitable part of the world, also claimed some territories, and they were even followed by the Nazis for a bit. Chile and Argentina also followed suit to ruffle Britain's feathers, right after they had already released New Zealand and Australia and they had inherited some of Britain's territories. Finally, 1957 became the International Geophysical Year, in which countries around the world shifted from flipping off the USSR to using Antarctica for science. This turned out so good that they came to sign the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. This established Antarctica as the common heritage of mankind, and established that it would be better to treat it like a nature reserve or the moon. Basically, all the borders are basically no more than lines on paper, and mining and military activities are banned until it comes under review in the 2040s. Thankfully, nowadays, every base in Antarctica is for scientific purposes, as going to Antarctica is still more akin to going to space than going to Europe. Well, at least in terms of accommodations. Thanks for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a like, share it, and be sure to subscribe to learn something new every Sunday.